In the first reading today, we hear about the wise man ultimately said, I prayed for prudence, it was given. I pleaded for the spirit of wisdom, and it came to me, and I preferred her to scepter and throne, deemed riches as nothing in comparison to her. It goes on, talking about wisdom. We can ask ourselves, what is this, and why is it so important? When we read the saints, we see that same pattern over and over and over again. And we see it in their lives. How many of these people are brilliant, just brilliant people. They could do anything that they wanted. And what did they do? They gave it all up because it didn't matter to them. All that mattered was the wisdom. Wisdom is Jesus Christ. He is the incarnate wisdom. That's all that mattered to these people. And we might look at it and say, oh, well, what's that all about? I suspect we've all known somebody, we've certainly read about them, but I hope all of us know somebody who's had one of these extraordinary conversion experiences. They were living a horrible life. And then all of a sudden, something happens. They have some experience of the Lord and just turns their life entirely around. They're willing to give up everything. Nothing else matters. And that's because now they have some wisdom. Wisdom does not come from learning. Wisdom comes from experience. It is not an intellectual virtue, it is a virtue of the will, which that's something that strikes most people as completely strange. How can wisdom not be of the mind? It's of the will because it's from experience. And it is that wisdom then that brings us into the love of God, of which there is nothing greater. And so you can look at saint after saint after saint, and you are going to see the same pattern. You can look in our own day, whatever you think of him doesn't matter, but Pope John Paul had to have been, if not the most intelligent, one of the most intelligent people ever to live in the 20th century. The man spoke 63 languages and dialects when he was elected Pope, learned a few more as the Pope in all of his free time. The guy was incredible. He had several doctorates. He had a couple doctorates in philosophy, one in Thomistic philosophy, one in phenomenology. These are two absolute opposites. And he was able to understand them both and, even more incredibly, put them together. And he had a doctorate in theology in St. John of the Cross. And when he died, what did he own? A watch. That was it. Nothing. This guy could have done anything. He gave his life to God. And he wasn't interested in material things because he had none, because he didn't want them. Because next to God, they're worthless. You're going to leave them all behind anyway. We spend so much time and effort trying to build up more money and more material things and more junk. And we look at the saints. They spend more time and effort getting rid of it all, because they want the one thing that matters and the only thing that matters. If you're not convinced about the importance of wisdom and the value of wisdom, I mean, again, here we have the wise man say, I made her, she was greater than anything, greater than riches, wealth, gold, silver, the throne, power, whatever, it's greater than everything. If you want to see it very clearly, someone came in yesterday and said, have you ever read this book? It's Cardinal Sarah's book on silence. And I said, oh yes, fantastic book. And what Cardinal Sarah has to say about silence is extraordinary. I said, but the last third or quarter of the book is where it gets really extraordinary. Because there is an abbot that they interviewed. This is a man who has lived silence for 30 or 40 or 50 years, or however it had been. and you see the depth and the wisdom that is there. Cardinal Sarah is writing all of these beautiful things about silence. It's from the mind. The abbot comes along and he speaks from the heart. The wisdom and the depth can only come from prayer, can only come from the silence. That's where we experience God. That's where the wisdom comes from, is from the experience of God. And the wonderful thing is, with God, the deeper we go into him, in other words, the more we have that experience of him. By that, I'm not saying all kinds of sensual things. Oh, the lights are flashing and the bells are going off and the neon lights are all... No. Just going deeper and deeper and deeper into the silence of God, into the very depth of God's being. And the more we do that, without even trying, the more the mind is filled with knowledge. The more the heart is filled with charity, because God is truth and God is charity. And that's what we see in the saints. So some of these people obviously start out extraordinarily intelligent. But intelligence is not wisdom. Understanding is not wisdom. That's what we have to realize. If we want true wisdom, it comes only from the experience of God. And that experience of God, while yes, there can be that extraordinary conversion experience, but beyond that, the experience of God comes only in prayer. And that is going to happen only in silence. And so if we can all work in that direction, imagine the change that can happen in our lives. We can really make determinations with true wisdom about what really is valuable, what really is important. We can get our priorities straight. We can put it in the right path. All these things that we think are so important, and they're not. But there is only one thing that truly is. And even Jesus tells us that. One thing only, he said, is necessary. Now, if you look in your own life, you'd say, oh, no, there are a whole bunch of things that are necessary. I have to have this and this and this and this and this. Jesus said God knows what you need. If you have God, you'll have everything. He'll take care of it. You don't need to worry about it all. And that's what we tend to do. We spend so much time and effort worrying about so much stuff. Why? All we need is the Lord. One thing only is necessary. And so if we can quiet our hearts, we can quiet our souls, and we can go deeper and deeper and deeper into the mystery of God, that's where everything is going to be transformed. Again, just even the pagans, who were the wise ones? Remember, the cartoons always show that. The wise man sitting up on top of the mountain. He's not in a mansion. He doesn't have piles of gold. He doesn't have all kinds of material. He has nothing. And there he is sitting up on top of the mountain, and all the people are going up to him to be able to get some guidance. So obviously they recognize that all the junk that they have, they're going to leave all that behind, climb up a mountain to ask somebody some advice. He's got something that all their riches and all their stuff can't ever provide. And he has nothing. And because he has nothing, he has everything. Because God is all in all. And so when you have God, you have everything and you lack nothing. If you think you have something, then you don't have God. In his fullness anyway. That's what the saints teach us. That's where real wisdom lies. That's where the real treasure is. That's what is worth more than anything and everything. Again, think about what you want for eternity. Really ask yourself, I know we only have two options, but if you were to stop and think, if I could make up eternity for myself, what would I want? Do I want to be with God for eternity? Or would I rather have a whole big mansion and fancy yachts and cars and junk and gold bars all over the place? And boy, wouldn't I look cool for all eternity. And guess what? You're going to be miserable for eternity doing it. No, you're going to look at it and go, no. I'd rather have God. Well, that's what you want for eternity. Isn't that what we ought to want in time as well? Because that's what we're about, striving for greater union with God. So take that time. Look at your life and ask yourself, number one, where can I bring more silence into my life? Turn the junk off. Thankfully, they all come with a little knob that says off on it. Turn it off. And bring silence into your life. And then go to prayer and go deeper and deeper and deeper into the mystery of God. What you're going to find as you do that, your life is going to become more and more simple. You're going to get rid of all kinds of stuff because it's in the way, because you don't need it. You're going to simplify. And as you do, there's going to be more wisdom and more silence and more depth. And it just keeps going that way until you can be just like one of the saints, filled with wisdom, having the one treasure that is the only one, the one that is truly valuable, the only one that is necessary, union with the Lord. You will have the wisdom of God, who is the person of Jesus Christ.